Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive systemic shift that is happening right now in one of the most notoriously slow and resource-heavy fields on the planet, the pharmaceutical industry. For decades, finding a new drug has been this agonizingly long game of trial and error. But as you'll see, artificial intelligence is fundamentally redefining that entire paradigm. We're talking about accelerating timelines from decades down to mere months, which literally means life-saving treatments could reach you or your loved ones radically faster. Let's get into it. To really grasp why this shift is absolutely crucial, we gotta look at the baseline. $2.6 billion. That is the staggering average cost to bring just one single novel therapeutic to market using traditional methods. It's wild, right? And it doesn't just burn through capital. It takes an agonizing 10 to 15 years of research and development.
But here's the truly shocking part. Despite that massive investment of time and money, the industry is dealing with a profoundly leaky funnel. Roughly 90% of drug candidates that actually make it into human clinical trials end up failing. They fail because they just aren't efficacious enough, they have unpredictable off-target toxicities, or sometimes simply because the trial couldn't enroll the right patients.
Let's walk through the grueling gauntlet a drug has to survive. Traditionally, just identifying a biological target takes 1 to 2 years. Then optimizing a chemical lead, that's another 2 to 4 years. Preclinical animal testing adds 1 to 2 more, and then you're staring down 5 to 7 years of human clinical trials. But AI isn't just speeding up one little piece of this, it's compressing, paralyzing, and completely reshaping this entire chronological pipeline. So here is our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll look at the drug discovery crisis, then decoding the biological target, followed by generative molecular design, optimizing human clinical trials, and we'll wrap up with an ethics and reality check.
Section 1. Decoding the biological target. Finding the hidden needles.
Okay, so to find a new drug, you first need to know exactly what protein or gene is actually causing the disease. This is where knowledge graphs come into play. Basically, AI models ingest massive amounts of multi-omics data, genomics, proteomics, the whole shebang, right alongside decades of published scientific literature. They build these vast biomedical networks that reveal hidden biological patterns and disease-gene relationships that are simply invisible to human researchers. It's like solving a giant puzzle in fast forward. Traditionally, whole genome knockdown screens and manual research take 1 to 2 years just to find a single valid target. Compare that to the AI approach. Using platforms like in silico medicine's PandaOmics, researchers can analyze all that multi-omics data and pinpoint novel targets in a matter of weeks. In fact, that specific platform identified a completely novel target for idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, something the traditional methods missed entirely in just weeks. A real game changer.
Section 2. Generative molecular design. Designing the impossible.
Now this is where it gets really exciting. We are no longer just screening old libraries of existing chemicals, hoping to find a lucky match. We are inventing brand new molecules from scratch. Instead of picking a key from a giant pile and just hoping it fits the lock, generative AI uses architectures like variational autoencoders, generative adversarial networks, and diffusion models. Think of these as digital chemistry engines. They map chemical structures into continuous mathematical spaces, allowing the AI to literally dream up synthetically feasible molecules that have never existed before and optimize them precisely for stability, binding affinity, and safety.
As you can see here, the evolution of generative models in chemistry is moving incredibly fast. We started with Google DeepMind's AlphaFold 3, using generative diffusion to predict how proteins and ligands fold together. Then came open-source models like Boltz 2, which offered much faster runtimes. And now, Isomorphic Labs IsoDDE is moving past single-task prediction into a unified molecular reasoning engine. It predicts structure, affinity, and identifies binding pockets all at once. To ground this highly technical shift, let's look at a concrete case study. Cereblon is a protein that researchers studied for years to find a novel, hidden binding site, an allosteric cryptic pocket. Well, IsoDDE was able to predict this newly discovered blind pocket computationally without any prior ligand data, using only the protein sequence as input. It accomplished in seconds what used to take years of incredibly expensive fragment-soaking experiments in a physical lab. Absolutely mind-blowing.
Section 3. Optimizing human clinical trials. Engineering success.
Now, you might be wondering, what happens when we actually test these? Well, the best AI-designed molecule in the world means absolutely nothing if the human trial fails. Let this sobering statistic sink in for a moment. Up to a quarter of all clinical trials fail simply because they can't find and enroll enough of the right patients. It's a massive operational bottleneck that plagues even the most promising therapeutics.
So here is how AI is attacking that bottleneck. Tools like Stanford's Trial Pathfinder use real-world data to simulate trial outcomes and optimize eligibility criteria before a trial even starts. AI sifts through massive electronic health records to stratify patients, basically finding the specific individuals genetically most likely to respond to a drug, which cuts recruitment from months down to days. Plus the use of digital twins. These are essentially data-driven synthetic clones of real patients, allows researchers to create synthetic patient cohorts for predictive modeling. This dramatically increases the statistical power of the trial.
Section 4. Ethics and Reality Check. The Limits of Algorithms.
Okay, let's take a breath and address the hype head-on because we need a reality check. The expectation is that AI compresses early discovery from 5 years to 18 months. And it's true that Phase 1 safety success rates have actually doubled for AI-designed drugs. However, the reality is that historical attrition rates in Phase 2 still remain. Several highly publicized AI-discovered drugs have faded or been shelved recently, simply because AI cannot yet completely conquer the fundamental unpredictability of human biology when treating complex diseases.
And these are the systemic bottlenecks holding the algorithms back. AI models are only as good as their training data, right? And right now there is a massive lack of published negative data, meaning the AI doesn't know what failed in the past. On top of that, many of these highly complex models act as black boxes. When an algorithm lacks transparent decision-making, it creates significant barriers to earning the trust of human clinicians and regulatory bodies like the FDA. Finally, many biological targets simply lack well-defined binding sites, meaning they remain notoriously undruggable, even for the most advanced AI.
Which brings us to our final thought. AI is undeniably transforming the agonizing 10 to 15-year gauntlet of drug discovery into a rapid, data-driven science. But as we compress decades of research into months, how do we balance this breathtaking algorithmic speed with transparent, ethical, and rigorous scientific validation? It's a question that will absolutely define the future of medicine. Thank you for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the data.